Hello, Idaho, and welcome to another video for our virtual STEM Matters celebration. My name is Crispin Gravatt, and I will be guiding us through conversations to highlight the different ways that science, technology, engineering, and math really showcase throughout the state of Idaho. Right now, we are going to dive into one of my favorite programs that the Idaho STEM Action Center runs, our summer externship program. This program places educators and college and career counselors with Idaho STEM employers for a weeks-long work experience to learn more about what things look like on the outside and bring that experience back into the classroom. And here to dive more in depth into his experience working with an Idaho employer is Bora High School computer science teacher, Sam Stafford. Sam, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Crispin. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing.
So currently, I'm at Bora High School. In my classroom, I'm the computer science teacher here, teaching three different sections of computer science, exploring AP Computer Science Principles and AP Computer Science A.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited to dive into some of what you learned in your externship experience this past year. So, tell us a little bit about your externship, where you worked, and what your work looked like.
Absolutely. It was an incredible experience. I worked at Simplot in their Opsis team. So it's like their development and operations. So it's their in-house development shop where they're creating applications for internal use and also external use because they have a lot of contractors that they work with. So it's a lot of web-based stuff that they're creating. It could also be just like a local, like truck scale program that they're developing. So I was in with one of their teams called Crush, and working alongside them. They're kind of showing me the ropes and giving me my own projects. It was really fascinating and eye opening.
Awesome. So, talk a little more about what some of these projects were and what some of the, I guess, more technical components of the work looked like, just to talk about how in depth you got.
Absolutely. I had a wonderful manager, and he gave me what was called a bag, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And what he wanted was a chat bot, an artificial intelligent chat bot that would help the team out on a regular day-to-day basis. So, for instance, like I said, they manage a lot of programs that they build in-house, and there's a lot of information getting tossed back and forth. And so what he wanted this chatbot to do is to query those projects in their wiki sites where they hold all this information, instead of having to go out and find it and navigate all the internal sites. You just ask this chatbot, hey, send me the truck scales project, and so it would send you back the information that you would need. And that's just one facet
Mhm.
that he wanted for like the scope of this chatbot. So I got to work on that, which was pretty fun.
That's awesome, and it sounds like it requires a whole bunch of different, really particular skill sets to be developed to make this kind of project possible. So it sounds like, and let me know if I'm wrong, there are a lot of coding elements, which sounds right up your wheelhouse as a computer science teacher. Uh, and then other elements, understanding the process and workflows for other roles in Simplot.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that I was going to be at an advantage to this position, knowing a little bit about programming and teaching computer science, and I was wrong. I I knew nothing, and and they assumed that I would know nothing, and they helped me out. Everybody was really excited. I felt like they were really excited to have me there and show me what they did on a day to day, and have me just kind of jump in. All the languages that I learned didn't apply to what we were doing. So a lot of the so yeah, it was like square one. So even not having any programming experience, I think any teacher would have gotten value from jumping into this program. Um, I'm proficient in the language of Java. They are a C sharp. shop, and so it really didn't translate all that much. And this chatbot that I was working on, there is what they call a low code tool. So a lot of it is you don't have to know programming
Mm.
to work with this. You just have to learn this tool first, and just any critical thinker can. So I didn't have any special superpowers to add, add to the team.
Yeah, well, it just highlights the different ways that STEM skills look like in practice, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you're just transferring it to another facet, I guess.
Yeah. So, it was not quite the experience that you expected. What did you hope to get out of the externship program going in when you applied?
I I love a practical application into my classroom. I kind of preach to my students that what I am teaching them is going to directly apply to um, industry. And not knowing anything about industry except for what I got to experience this summer, I was just kind of hoping that that was right. But I mean, that was correct. What I
Mhm.
was hoping uh, to get from my experience with this externship was tools that I can directly give to my students that they can then turn around and apply to to industry. And so the skills that I do teach them are applicable. I was kind of facetious when I said that like nothing that I learned had applied. Like it did. And
Mhm.
one thing that I got a lot of value from this um, externship was they taught me what was called version control. And version control in software development is basically like save points in work projects that you are doing with an entire team. And so I can work on a project and you can work on the same exact project and tweak different pieces of it, and we can work
Mhm.
at the same time and also share it with each other instantaneously, and we can see what each other is doing. And so I was able to bring that skill back to my classroom and have my students use it, and it was really fun, and the kids enjoyed it as well.
That's awesome. So were you working, side by side in real time with other Simplot employees, sort of getting the backbone, the background for this AI chatbot?
Absolutely, yeah. So there was an intern from Boise State that they paired me up with for this AI chatbot.
Mhm.
It was kind of a pet project for my manager, um, and while he did have me working on like day to day specific jobs with him, I was like very much like attached to him when we were doing that. But this chatbot was like our project that we were using this version control software with, kind of in our own separate, I'm going to call it a sandbox, where the other intern and I were working on this and the team could see it, but it wasn't like fully into production. Like we got it to do some pretty cool stuff, like query the projects, like I said.
Mhm.
Um, and the intern got it to actually like pull the um, Simplot's cafeteria menu for the week. So like each week it would pull the cafeteria menu. So that was kind of cool to just like ask. We called it OPSI. Ask OPSI, hey, what's for lunch this week? And it would tell you. It's very useful. It's yeah, very applicable to the day to day work life at Simplot. Um,
That's
so so yes, mostly I
Mhm.
was kind of working on my own with the intern, and my manager was like checking in, just like, hey, do you guys need any help? Need any
Sure.
assistance? But if we were working on like Simplot specific work, like he was right there with me, showing me what they were doing.
Mhm. That's awesome, and that's a lot of trust that they put in you to get this done.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
it was.
what is one surprising thing that you learned through this externship process?
The one surprising thing was the amount of collaboration. Again, I always kind of preach to my students like, hey, you're going to have to
Mhm.
collaborate. You're going to have to talk. Stereotypically, computer science individuals are not known for being so sociable. So that's one lesson that I teach my students is like, how to work with a team. But I mean, it's a total understatement. I was virtual for what am I trying to say? Due to COVID, we were working from
Mhm.
home quite a bit.
Right.
but you had to stay in, we used Microsoft Teams. You had to stay in that chat to see what was going on, because
Hmm.
people are constantly in there, um, updating what they're doing, asking for questions, asking for other resources. And if you're not in it for, like, say you take a long lunch and you take another hour off, like, you miss a ton of content.
Hmm.
And so the collaboration was really surprising. And it's really fun to see. I mean, these people love what they do and they enjoy who they work with. And it just showed from, how they're interacting with one another.
Yeah, and was this all the communication? Was this just the sort of cyber operations team, or was this communication across departments at Simplot?
Yeah, we got, so interdepartment communications as well. Um, but I was having a difficult enough time just seeing what my own, crush team
Right.
in the OPSIS, like OPSIS has got like 3 or 4 different sub teams. Crush is just one
Hmm.
of those with, like, 5 or 6 people working on that. And then the three or four other teams also have, 5 to 8 people working in those sub teams. So you have this whole OPSIS channel that you're following, which is the entire, development and operations communications, and then your own like sub channel that you're like trying to keep track with, and then all of
Hmm.
Simplot. And that doesn't even include email, right? So,
Yeah.
um,
So it
uh,
sounds like just layers and layers of really interconnected communication, which that combined with what you said about needing to learn these new languages and
mhm,
new skills, that really just drives home to me the need to develop these core competencies, these core critical thinking, communication, teamwork skills as a part of STEM education.
100%. Absolutely. Collaboration needs to happen, and it needs to
Mhm.
be, woven into, all facets of our curriculum.
That's awesome. And you previously mentioned the bag, the big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah.
Uh, Tell me a little more about the bag. How did that come about as a term in your externship experience?
Oh my gosh. My manager is a prolific reader. I mean, he gave me a reading list, and he stole it from another author that he follows. But these big, hairy, audacious goals are goals that, like, you want to shoot for, you want to strive for. And if you he did not expect me to make a fully functioning artificial intelligent, chatbot, by the end of my 5-week internship. But this is just something that he had on his mind, and we had a 3-hour meeting between him. So his name is Chris, myself, and Ben. Ben was the intern from Boise State,
Mhm.
and he laid out 20 of these big, hairy, audacious goals, and this chatbot was just one of them. So Chris, my manager, is constantly thinking about not only how to, like, make his own work better, but his team's work better.
Mhm.
And so this, big, hairy, audacious goal is just one of many ideas that he has floating around. And he's like, "Look, I've got you two here with me for a short amount of time. You're cheap labor. Get after it. Like, I want you to devote, the rest of your internship developing this thing." Um, so,
Just
I
make it as
mean,
big and bad as it can be.
absolutely. Yeah, it was just like, "Hey, look, if we had a team of 20 people working on this thing for a year, we'd have something that we could, like, maybe use at the end of it." He's like, "But at the end of the 3 weeks really that we were working on it," he's like, "Just give me a proof of concept." You know?
Mhm.
So, expectations are realistic, but, like, with the support of, like, "Hey, this is a real thing, this is a real project, and we wanna continue it after you leave us," you know?
So
So
you're
that's
going in and laying the groundwork.
Yes, and so yeah, exactly, exactly. So that's why it's the big, hairy, audacious goal, because it's like, get as much done in the time
Mhm.
that you have while we have you, because it's not gonna, like, live and die with you. And that gave me so much buy-in, along with Ben, the other intern, because we were like, all right, let's get after it and give
Mhm.
these guys something that they can actually use in the
Right.
future. So it was really fun. Yeah,
Yeah, it sounds like a really great, just professionally and personally rewarding experience. I'm
absolutely.
wondering as well, how have you taken this experience and all of the things that you've learned and the connections that you've made, and used it in your practice as a computer science teacher?
Yeah, I'm always looking to draw stuff into my class. So my big, hairy, audacious goal for my students is to develop an app that's either going to help our school nurse, our head custodian, or our head food nutrition specialist at Bora. So what I've done is asked all of those people, like, what is your largest difficulty in your job? And I don't tell the head custodian or the nurse about the
Mhm.
app. I just say, what's your biggest difficulty in your day-to-day job? And then I present this to my students, and I said, we're going to make an app that's going to solve this problem. That's going to be hosted on Apple's App Store. Um, and they buy in. They get into it. They get into the research of like what these people need, what and so couple of things are learned. Like, we have a semester to make a fully functioning app that's going to solve this problem is going to take an entire team to develop this. But what they learn, number one, that I think is important, they learn the names of the head custodian and the nurse and the food and
Mhm.
nutrition specialist. So they know who is helping them on a day to day in their school. So that gives them some agency in and around Bora. Be like, hey, when I see trash on the ground, I know who's managing
Mhm.
the people that's like having to pick this up. So I'm going to throw my stuff away. Um, and they learn principles of programming, so they know the foundations, the structures, the stuff that I hold myself accountable to teach them. But it gives them like an actual, like, tangible
Right.
reason to use them, right? And then they learn about the process of like actually creating a developer account for Apple, right? Whether we see this all to fruition is like, that's their bag. Like, that is at the
Mhm.
end. If it happens, it's a miracle. But the groundwork and the foundation that these bags give my students, um, I mean,
Yeah.
it leaves them wanting more, which, you know, as an educator, that's what you want to leave with your students, is like, you want them to pursue this beyond your classroom.
Yeah, and the word that keeps coming up is buy-in.
Mhm.
In your experience and in the experience that you shared that your students are having, buy-in as a member of the community to solving these problems, to really working together in more creative ways,
Mhm.
to boost the community that we're all a part of. And that seems like it's a really good opportunity to develop those sort of core competencies and then develop more technical skills to supplement that sense of identity.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Giving those students that sense of identity and agency over their own education, is a big
Mhm.
goal of mine for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure that your peers in your school are also very happy that they could potentially have some tools to make their job easier down the road.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So, have you stayed in touch with your extern site host, Simplot, and leveraged your relationship since then?
I just have sent them some updates, and
Mhm.
what I was looking for this second semester, towards the end, is hopefully have them come in and give my classes maybe a 15-minute spiel about their day to day experience. So as far as keeping up that relationship, it's basically just me just being like, hey, thanks for what I got.
Mhm.
These are the resources that you shared with me that I'm now passing on to my students. Um,
Awesome.
so yeah, I'm definitely trying to maintain those connections.
It's really good, and hopefully, we can see that relationship come to fruition with more professional relationships with your students to see more how this looks outside of school
Yep,
as a member of a larger community and an Idaho employer.
absolutely. Yes.
So, our externship application is going to open for this coming summer. We have spots for a new slate of educators and college and career counselors to get this kind of experience in employers all over the state.
Mhm.
So, thinking of them, what advice do you have for folks who are thinking of submitting an application to be an extern?
It's extremely valuable, and the STEM Action Center was amazing in placing their externs with an appropriate
Mhm.
position. They take into account your skills as far as your STEM skills. If you're you know elementary, if you're a social student or social studies teacher, if you're a French teacher, they're going to place you in a company that you will add value to, and where they will add value to you as well. So it's a wonderful experience that I think that every teacher should have, because we're trying to get our students, college and career ready. I mean, that's what we're
Mhm.
trying to do, just have our students be real people at the end of the day. And so when we're looking for like what Idaho employers want, I mean, there's no better experience than
Mhm.
having
No
that
better
experience.
Right. No better way to learn what employers are looking for than by being an employee in that sort of environment.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a great way to spend 5 weeks in the summer, and um, the relationships that you build are fantastic, and I highly recommend it to any teacher.
Awesome. And I will second that recommendation. Is there anything else that you want folks watching to know about your experience or anything else about the work that you do?
Um, It's I mean, it's all good, and it's all about relationships, truly. Like you said, like, you wanna know how I'm, continuing that relationship with Simplot, and, these these are people that want to have externs. If they sign up for it, if a community partner signs up to take on an
Mhm.
extern, they want you there, and they want to influence your classroom, in a positive way.
Mhm.
Um and that's what Simplot did for me. So that's what I want people to know, is that this made me a better teacher, and it made my students' experience better in my classroom. That's the big takeaway that I would pass on.
Awesome. And I'm sure they learn just as much from you and your unique experience as a classroom instructor.
Maybe.
Awesome. Well, Sam, thank you so much for joining us today, sharing a little bit about your experience, and encouraging everyone to participate in the summer externship program. Really
Absolutely. Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me again, Crispin. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in and learning a little bit more about our summer externship program. We will have a whole slate of other conversations with STEM movers and shakers all over the state of Idaho throughout the week. So be sure to tune in and learn more. I'll see you next time.